protecting my fucking beard is. I mean, I'm not one of those people who like goes in with a nice little scissors and trims his beard constantly, but I at least try and keep it somewhat like just small, but it's going everywhere. I just look like just look like people have been not making eye contact with me. I think it's one of those things like they just see me, just like don't talk to him. Like what? He just given up on what? Everything. Just keep going.
He's gone past the point of no return.
Yeah. So, plus I got this. It's cold as fuck around over here, so I'm wearing like 3 layers when I walk around outside. It's so weird. I can go
they
up to
probably just think you are a hobo.
Yeah, and then like my backpack is usually pretty heavy, so I'm kind of hunched. So it's just all around. It's just a bad fucking mess.
Somebody drops a can of food and you start scrambling.
Yeah. I grab it. Oh, just let him have it. Just let him have it.
And then you pause for a second and you go, I don't need this. I have money. Yeah. What am I doing? Where have I been? Why stop like, and you start grabbing the person and shaking them, going like, "What year is it? What day?"
Jumanji. No. Then I just stop and I just look at it. I'm like, oh wait, it's Super Mario SpaghettiOs. Fuck yeah, I'm keeping this.
Yeah, fuck you, kid.
He's a fucking kid. No, it's just one of these things where it's like, I don't know. I've just been so busy since I got home from Sonora. It's weird though. I'll say this: like Sonora, you can go there. Like some people are like, I don't live there, or San Francisco, so this means nothing to me. But I'll make this quick. It's kind of like I can like when I was in Sonora, it was snowing. You could just walk out there with like one. I don't know what it is. I could walk out there with a t-shirt and a sweater and jeans and be totally fine. I don't know what it is about here when it's not snowing. And maybe just because we're close to the ocean, there's more moisture in the air. But like, I go outside, I need like 3 or 4 fucking layers sometimes.
It's the wind chill. That's what it is there, though. Like that. Yeah. That's what makes it cold. Because technically, San Francisco is like it's a very moderate temperature place. It ranges from generally about 40 to about 70. Every once in a while, it'll go a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but that's almost where it stays at. But then you get that wind that will creep in there and then blow through the buildings that have no trees or anything else around it, so it makes it really fucking cold.
Yeah, that could be the reason. Thank you. I'm glad we got the science guy here. I'm just like, why is it so fucking cold?
I'm just saying that from the year I lived there that I'd kind of made that observation, even though I also like had the fucking.
I've been there for like I've been here for almost 2 years, and it took me this long to put it together. So.
But yeah, like one of those ones I remember having the window like fucking open every single night down there because I found it actually warmer there than like a winter up here.
Well, I guess we're probably recording. I hope you are by this point.
Goddamn right. Welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan. Marley was almost going to be on today, but he called me like partway through the podcast. Not sure if that's my phone or your phone. I'm turning mine off right now. Marley, a little before we started recording this, he actually sent me a text, and he's in the middle of watching Hateful 8 right now, and he went to go see the 70mm thing. So he texted me during the intermission. So he's like, I can't make it on by this time. Like, all right, he's like, you guys want to wait for me? I'm like, well, you going to be here? He's like, yeah, I'll do tomorrow maybe. Like, all right, you can be on another podcast possibly. But yeah, so.
Yeah, we're not waiting around for
that. I'm sharing this thing like, you're going to fucking be here with the entire audience. But now I feel like an asshole. Sorry, Marley. I'm a prick. Next time you see me, you can punch me in the face.
He had a fucking intermission in his?
I had an intermission in mine. I saw the 70mm.
So
and I got this. The audience can't see. You could probably go on Bing or Google and look it up. But I got this right here. This little like kind of booklet that looks kind of like a vinyl album.
That's what I thought it was at first.
Basically, so the way the movie, I didn't realize this at first, but it's getting a limited release to where it's getting like a 70mm screening, and the beginning of the movie, there's like a 10-minute overture. You have a still, it says overture, so it's kind of like the older movies like Lawrence of Arabia and all that when they're in their cycle, just kind of set the mood. And then the movie starts, and then there's an intermission in the middle of it, just plainly intermission.
Yeah,
and
just like how old long movies like Ben-Hur and stuff like that. They actually did that on, or at least the version I have of Alexander. It's like the 3rd cut of it or whatever, and they have it set up like that too.
Even though it's on a DVD. So
yeah, even though it's on a DVD, so you sit there and go, what the fuck is going on? I guess I go to use the restroom?
So like in the movie theater, I'd get that, but yeah, it actually had that for the movie, and I guess I don't know. Usually we have a segue. Well, what'd you do? Well, we give some ham-fisted way into like, oh, well, speaking of the number 8, I saw Hateful, So anyway,
speaking of hate,
yeah, tell us more about the Jews, Spencer.
well, I went and saw Hateful Eight, and
Makes sense. Yeah, no. So,
but the 70
say?
millimeter one was it was just pretty much the movie projected on 70 millimeter film format, not fucking digital like the version I saw.
Yeah, and you can see
the not
there
fucking
was
digital version.
the version Tarantino hates, and he had like I'm not sure if you heard his Nerdist interview with Chris Hardwick, but he explained the reason why he doesn't like digital, and he said the reason is you can get digital on YouTube, you can get digital on your TV. You don't get that grain, you don't get that look of film anywhere else other than the movie theater. So that's the reason why he prefers that. And I get that, but at the same time, when a movie's near its kind of run, you just want it to look kind of like, by the end of that, I can understand the charm of that. But some things, I'll be honest with you. Seeing something like, and this probably isn't made for someone like Tarantino, but something like Avengers is going to look really weird on kind of grainy kind of film. You want something that is like digital and picture perfect. So I think some movies, like a movie like this, I think works perfectly, or like nearly any Tarantino film, or any kind of like maybe like Western or film with like a 70s action vibe would work perfect for that.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about film though nowadays, is digital's got so good. There was a period where you could tell the difference between like a digital movie and a film one, but now it's at that point where like you see a movie and it's like Looper was shot on film on 35 millimeter, and you just kind of look at it and go, it looks no different. It just looks like a digital film. Looks the same as anything else that came out around that same year. I mean, I'm not saying anything against it. Just the only thing about film nowadays, it just seems like let's just make this production really like a lot more expensive just for the fuck of it, because you know what? Film was cool. When I grew up, I was watching film, so fuck it, let's spend some money. That's almost how it feels nowadays. It's not really necessary. Now, something like Tarantino, it's like, that's kind of his thing. But it is one of those ones that's just like, that just means more work for everybody else. It's not like Tarantino's going to sit down and fucking like cut that film together. So it's not like he's going to be the one developing it and transferring it over. So of course he doesn't give a flying fuck. But it is that sort of thing where I kind of go, nowadays it's, like I get it. Like it's the retroness of it is kind of cool. But look at a Robert Rodriguez movie. Like, he'll make you believe that a fucking digital movie will look extremely film-like.
Yeah. And, it doesn't really... I'm not one of those people, like, I don't know all the technical aspects as well as you do, but I see what you're saying there. And I think that it's one of those things, like, I think, it makes sense for a director like Tarantino, because he seems to, be kind of a traditionalist in that kind of way. But that being said, though, this was a really good fucking movie. And I know we probably don't need to say this for our usual listeners, but if this is your first time tuning into the show, spoilers. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, because I got the poor man's digital version of it. I did not get the fancy 70 millimeter. And it was just a regular cinema, right? It wasn't like they put it on a large, screen or anything like that.
It looked a little bit... It was a regular movie theater, as far as I can tell. Well, let me put it this way. First off, as soon as I got home from visiting Sonora, I went and dropped off my bags and looked at the nearest time, and it was playing at the Sundance Theater in Japantown. So I'm like, okay, that's where I'm going. So, and I just thought, okay, 70 millimeter minimal. I didn't realize they're making this big deal out of it, like this roadshow kind of event thing. I knew it got a limited release, but then I get over there's a massive amount of people, and I see people walking out of these Hateful Eight looking like, they look like, it seriously looks like a case to like a record, but it's a book. And I see people walking out, they're like, oh, you get those? And they go up there and they ask the lady, hey, so how many, like, when's Hateful Eight start? And they're like, oh, well, it's all sold out. I'm like, are you kidding me? What about the next show? Yeah, it's sold out too. And then I just got all kind of like, just got like that whole like, I came here for nothing. And just kind of like pacing back and forth. And then
think of it this way: at least you didn't drive fucking 3 hours and then go, oh well, it's all sold out. And you're like, fuck, we drove all this way for it? Because I was literally, when Hateful Eight first came out, I was like, dude, they're not playing this movie anywhere. I mean, I think there was one showing in Sacramento was the closest thing. So it was like 2 hours away from Yosemite. So it was to that point where it's kind of like, okay, I guess I'm waiting.
Yeah, it has all. It's like it was like a album T-shirt or something. Has all the cities they're playing the 70 millimeters on the back of the book, and Sacramento is one of them.
Now, did
So
it
then I
cost
just kind of.
more for that?
I don't know if it costs more. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna guess it costs a little more because I actually went to. It's. I'm not gonna say it's like a classy theater, but a little more of an expensive theater. They have like it wasn't. We had like they had a Century theater inside the mall on Market Street on the Westfield Mall and Market Street. There's like a really expensive theater there where I don't know how much it usually is. I saw Gone Girl there once. I remember it being a little bit more pricey, but they have cushion seats that recline a little further back. It's not like Alamo Drafthouse, you like order food or whatever. But it was something like that, and I went and looked at it, and then I asked Wes and Jill if they wanted to see it. Like, oh, we'll go see it tomorrow. So I just reserved the tickets right there because they were already sold out too. So I reserved the tickets for the next day, and then we went to go see it, and it was actually kind of funny because Jill at first she's like, "Why the fuck do you guys want to see that? Like, what do you mean? Like,
that's like why would we
no,
not want to see
that? Let me finish. She's like, I've seen the trailer. That looks dumb. Like, it's Tarantino. Like, Tarantino made that. Like, Tarantino put Adam Sandler in a movie? Like, oh, that's the Ridiculous Six. That's a Netflix thing. No. It's something entirely different. It's like, oh, there's a new Tarantino. Oh, okay, yeah. I want to see it. Yeah, you know.
Well, that makes me wonder because if she got confused, how many other people got confused then?
Yeah,
because that means that's probably a common occurrence then.
So I thought that was, like fucking. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I mean, even people I know who are kind of like Adam Sandler apologists are kind of like, dude, I cannot get through the Ridiculous Six. I cannot. I just couldn't.
My dad watched like the first like half an hour of it. He said there was a couple laughs. Other than that, though, it was pretty dumb.
And like even it has like it's like Netflix, but I think it's a Netflix exclusive show or movie or whatever. It's up to like 4 stars by default.
Yeah,
I'm guessing everybody I talk to says fuck that show.
You're the movie.
You're the movie, whatever. I don't know what the fuck it is.
I know it's hard to think of it as a movie when it premieres on Netflix. You're like, oh, that must be a show. Then it's like, oh, it's a movie. Oh, okay.
There's that movie, Beast of No Nation. I haven't watched it yet because I don't.
Well, they always like peer pressure. Like you turn on Netflix and they're like, check this out, Beast of No Nation. You want to see it. It's like, no, I just want to look at where's my list at. Yeah, about your list. Well, we put it at the very fucking bottom, so you have to scroll through every other movie to get to it. Yeah, but the whole point of my list was a save state. Yeah, well, you're going to have to scroll through every other movie to get to your own list.
I wouldn't mind watching that movie at some point, but it's one of those movies like, do I feel like being like an entitled piece of shit today? And like feeling, because that looks like one of those movies that just I got a feeling if I watch that movie, I'm going to feel bad about every complaint I ever had in my life. So I'm just going to watch it a little later, and I'll be blissfully ignorant for a little while, and then I'll watch it like, oh my God, it was so good, because I've heard nothing but good things about it. But, plus it's going to be hard. I think, isn't Idris Elba in that movie? Isn't he like the bad guy?
I don't know. I literally saw that ad and I kept scrolling by. Like, I don't know very much about that one.
It's like one of those, African soldier children movies. If Idris Elba's the bad guy, that's gonna be hard to take in. But yeah, who knows? It'll be very charming.
It's like that Leo movie, Blood Diamond or something.
I think it's kind of like that. I mean, I haven't seen it. The Blood Diamond was good. I mean, it didn't blow me away, but it was good. It was like
I enjoyed it.
It was trying. Oh, you saw it? Yeah, I kind of thought it was cool how it was still trying to be an action. It was trying to be aware and being. It was trying to like educate you, but still be an action movie, and I liked that. But might need to see it again. Spend some time. But anyway, this movie right here though, Hateful Eight. We get sidetracked way too easily.
Before we even go to the Hateful Eight, I don't know if you had this trailer when you saw it, but did you have that You didn't have. Oh, did you have that Calamity Jane one at all?
No, Calamity Jane trailer.
Oh my God, it's called Jane's Got a Gun. Looks so fucking badass. It's a new Western, so one, it's like, as we always say, we feel like we're obligated to go see a Western if it comes out. It's just one of those ones, you get maybe 1-2 a year, so you want to make sure you support that movie. Whether or not it's good, by supporting it, hopefully that means we'll get another one. And,
that's one reason I mainly want to see Warcraft, because I want the video game movies to get to that point where, I mean, I'm hoping Warcraft's going to be good. We'll find out. But yeah, so Jane's Got a Gun?
Yeah, it's got Natalie Portman in it as the main character. Ewan McGregor, I think, is the bad guy, and a couple other people, but it looks fucking sweet. Check it out.
Is it like, does it look like your standard Western? Does it look like a stylized kind of Tarantino-esque Western, or?
A little bit more like a standard Western, not stylized. I wouldn't say that at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like Django or maybe not even Django, but like almost some of those other like kind of Japanese style ones. No, it's more like a classic style, but it looks like it's got good revenge, good action going to be in it. I think it's rated R. I can't remember if it said that in the trailer, but.
Jane's Got a Gun. I'm already interested. It's a
I saw that title before, and I was like, "What the fuck is that? Like an Aerosmith movie or something like that?" That was like all I thought, and then it's like, oh. And see, that's what I love about seeing trailers in the movie theater. I feel like I get such a better experience than seeing them like, oh, new trailer came out. Let me look at this on my phone. Like, you look on your phone, it's kind of like, well, that looks cool, but you just don't get that same impact as when you get to see it for the first time, like on a big screen.
Seeing Star Wars with my I saw like Star Wars for the third time with my parents over Christmas, and it took my nephews as well. And that right there, I will say it was cool seeing some of those movies and some of the trailers. But I'm at the point now, maybe just being older, I'm seeing way too many fucking trailers. There's just way too many trailers now. I mean, there's trailers I want to see, but just too fucking many of them. When I went to see Star Wars, I mean, I don't know. It just maybe because I'm so used to going like some like little like mom and pop movie theater here, so I get like one or two trailers. But now when I go to like some like major movie theater, it's like just literally it feels like it's not no longer like 15 or 20 minutes of trailers, literally like 30 minutes of trailers.
Yeah, there's sometimes a good about 6 to 8 trailers or so. Like that's the way I like seeing trailers. I'd rather see them in the theaters than see them like on a computer screen or something like that. So I'm kind of like I've never been that like anti-trailer. So I kind of hate when you see like a crappy trailer and you have to keep seeing it over and over again. But
like The Fifth Wave or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. No, that was actually like trailers sometimes. When people go to the movie, if you go to the movies as much as you or me, I mean, even though the movie just ended up being all right, The Counselor, the Ridley Scott movie, was almost kind of ruined for me before I even saw it. 'Cause it was the same trailer that played at every single movie we saw for like a total of 6 months.
Yeah, they didn't have a second or a third trailer. It was just the same singular one. Probably because Ridley realized that the movie wasn't that great, so he was like, "Fuck, don't spend more money on it. Just use that same one."
I think it was one like, look, I really wanted to work with Fassbender. I really wanted to work with Penelope Cruz and give the guy from Breaking Bad for like a cameo. So just yeah. I mean, did it pan out as I hoped? Just throw it out. Thank you. I mean, someone like him's got to have.
We got a couple cool scenes in there. I mean, like that's really like the selling point of the movie is about a couple sweet ones like Brad Pitt's death and so on. But
yeah. It's not even a god awful movie. It's just one of those. It's literally just one of those kind of movies.
Well, here I think it's one of those ones when you get a director like Ridley Scott, you just expect the best because he pretty much almost never lets you down. So when he does let you down, which he's not like you're letting you down a lot, but just a little bit, it kind of goes, oh, that felt like a hard fall down the stairs there. It kind of hits you a little bit harder than like if it's some mediocre director.
Well, he's kind of had you and me like Prometheus. Then he had The Counselor. Then he had Exodus, which I never saw and I didn't really care to see. And now he's like, you know what? Prometheus 2, it's not Prometheus 2. We're just going to call it Alien Origins, okay? We're just going to call it that, or something to that effect. So...
No, I think he's doing 2 of them. He's doing an Alien 5 or whatever, and then he's doing Prometheus, and then it's also got, I think, Aliens Italian. He's not getting rid of the Prometheus thing, I think. I
think, like, Neil Blomkamp is directing Alien 5, but Ridley Scott's, like, producing it and kind of, like, mentoring.
Yeah, I think that's how it's going. But,
so that's kind of funny that could actually work out this day and age where you can literally just get to that point, like, here's a drawing I made, I'm just going to throw it online. Oh, I was just joking around. I didn't have any intention of making it. You asked Fox. You got to go talk to Fox. And then they're like, you motherfucker. Oh, yeah, hey, we might make the movie. We might get Neil Blomkamp, like how they get almost like peer pressure. Almost like, not peer pressure, but pressure, like a studio into doing that. Because it was just Neil Blomkamp just doing all like this production art and just like threw it up online. Wouldn't this be cool if it got made?
And he's kind of technically like, in a sense, you think about it's like, well, yeah, that's the perfect guy to get like today to do like an alien movie. Why would you not get that guy? He is literally like Mr. Sci-Fi. He doesn't have anything under his belt but sci-fi. He's
like one of the only guys that consistently does sci-fi now, and like I want I want to see what he does because I mean, a lot of people didn't like Chappie. I liked Chappie. I didn't like it as much as other stuff, but I liked it. But his first two movies I loved. So I mean, I'd like to see him do Alien 5.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. But well, I guess we can get into the Hateful Eight. That was the long introduction to getting there. Just like how long.
Oh wow, it was already Jesus Christ! It's been 20 minutes. People have been waiting on. Oh, we'll get to Hateful Eight. Okay, wow.
Yeah. What?
Okay.
Yeah. What did you get there now?
Just don't make Hateful Eight like the main title. Like, what's to hate about 8 or something? I don't know. Make it something like don't look like a movie review. It's like, oh, they'll fucking get there, you know?
Yeah, whatever. But no, I was overall. I'm just gonna say it. That was almost like a perfect Tarantino movie, though. The Hateful Eight. For being 3 hours and all that stuff, and for really having about 3 different, like, locations, I guess you could say, if that even. Like, that's about it. Strangely enough, it was put together so well. I was really impressed. I loved the hell out of that film.
No, I loved it, too. It was one of those things that when we saw it, I mean, I knew it was going to be a movie that took place like a bottle film. It took place in one little spot. And I don't want to say this because, I mean, I feel like everybody's going to make this comparison, and it's probably it's different enough. It's its own movie. But I think the best way to describe this movie is kind of like Reservoir Dogs if it was a Western.
No, because when you say that, that's really what the movie is. But it is doing something so different that it's not like it's like retracing anything Reservoir Dogs like or so on. But just happens to have a similar style like that, which I think that's kind of cool though. Like, in a sense, it's, almost 25 years later, it kind of has a movie similar like that. Why not?
Kind of going back to the well. It's one of those movies you can totally tell, like, this feels like a movie that could almost be a play. It could, like, feels like it was almost like a... there was that whole thing, it was the episode Jeremy was on, where it was revealed that, like, this got leaked online. I never looked at the script. But then he ended up, he had like he's like, I'm not going to make it. I'm just going to make a book out of it. Then he just had like a cast reading. He's actually, you know what? I am going to go along with this thing. And that whole movie, it was just, I can't sing enough praise on it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Tarantino film. I'd say it's probably in the mid-range for me. But keep in mind, mid-range Tarantino is still like, Tarantino's my favorite director.
Well, here's the thing about Tarantino. I think he only has one movie that's just okay. Everything else is extremely good. I think Death Proof is the only one that's just okay. But everything else is like...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, but like his other movies are all pretty much like perfect or close to being perfect.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, like Death Proof, I like it. It's one of those movies that it's like... I don't know what it is. Maybe it's when I saw it. Maybe that was a really good time in my life. It's my least favorite movie of his, but I still really like that movie. And I'm glad I have that one in my collection. Inglourious Bastards is probably right behind that one.
What about Jackie Brown?
For me, like least favorite Tarantino to most favorite Tarantino movie. I mean, I got to see this again, but right now, this is what I'll say. From my least favorite Tarantino to most favorite Tarantino movie, it goes probably Death Proof, Inglourious Bastards, Jackie Brown. I don't know if Reservoir Dogs or Hateful Eight. I really got to think about that one. And then go to this is another tie. Kill Bill or Django. I think Django might trump Kill Bill. I actually think that might trump.
I actually kind of agree there. Like over time, I think Django is close to being like maybe my second favorite Tarantino one.
And Pulp Fiction being my first. I think that's kind of like nearly everybody's favorite Tarantino flick.
Yeah. Well, that mostly are Kill Bill, I know. So I know those are most of the two ones that seem to be always up there. But no, that's about probably the same place I would do it too. As I'd probably say Kill Bill, Pulp Fiction, and Django I like more than Hateful Eight. And then, yeah, I'm kind of with you there. If like Reservoir Dogs, like, because I got to see Hateful Eight about 2 more times or so before I can really judge it.
Same here.
But I even thought that, I don't know, even compared, don't get me wrong, I love Reservoir Dogs, but this one was just so smooth and it just feels like a movie that I was kind of waiting for that scene to drag. Because, I mean, you're going into a 3-hour-long movie. There's got to be a place where it's going to, like, not be there. But no, it was great all the way through. I mean, the first half an hour is literally a conversation pretty much in a stagecoach. What it really reminds me of is, I don't know if you ever saw this movie, but if you've ever seen Dracula, the 30s one, not the American one, though, but the Mexican version, They have the opening of that movie has a long scene where they're talking to each other in a stagecoach. Like it has the same kind of shot and everything. I don't know if he just said, "Hey, that was kind of cool," but cause, I mean, take a stagecoach, shoot it from the side. That's probably in 1,000 Westerns, but that's what it reminded me a lot of.
I'll say that this movie, I mean, that might be intentional right there because he likes to make weird little like homages like that. But I can't help but feel like, I mean, this movie, it's first and foremost a Western, but to a certain extent, maybe not entirely like not by jump scares or anything. But I feel like this movie, you might almost, I mean, it's still first and foremost a Western, but I feel like you might almost put it under horror because there is like such tension the whole time. The main theme to that movie is so creepy and it kind of lingers with you. It was like it stuck with me for a couple of days when I first saw it.
Would you say horror or would you say suspense? Because I would almost say more suspense than horror.
But the reason I say horror is just because, I mean, more likely suspense, but the reason I say a little bit of horror is because I felt like that thing was jam-packed with like stuck in the cabin homages. Like that was there. I don't think it's coincidental that he got a movie about people not trusting each other in the snow, starring Kurt Russell, and making the line out. I don't think that's coincidental. I think he was trying to make a nod to The Thing in some way. Maybe.
Did you? I don't know if you watched the credits, but there was music from The Thing in there.
There was? Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. And then there's also the part, like, we'll get to it, but the part when people, like, drink poison and start vomiting blood, I was thinking that was directly out of the way they were doing it. That was directly out of Evil Dead right there. The vomiting blood on top of someone, like, all, like, crazy and, like, violent-like. Huh. And then how there's this consistent, like, maybe that's just a coincidence, but there's this consistent tension the whole time. And I don't know what it is. It's kind of one of those things to me, maybe just me personally, more creepy than actually seeing people die. The idea of knowing, because when you get there, you know something's wrong, and the idea of knowing that there's a body in the well or underneath the floorboards, chances are it's there the whole time, though they're not aware of it. Like that's almost maybe just a personal thing to me, but that idea is creepier than the actual violence. You know what I mean?
Pretty much being in a room where you know something like terrible has happened, but you don't know what or where.
And yeah, exactly. And the idea that like it's there. It's not like it's totally gone. It's still there in the room or in the vicinity somewhere. But even though it's kind of technically in this case outside at the bottom of a well. But you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me, and plus just that theme in the black and red like color scheme that it used for like the overture and the opening. Like, well, not even. I guess you wouldn't see the normal film, but the overture of the 70mm presentation.
Yeah, the regular one, we got no intermission or anything. It's just like, you sit there and fucking enjoy your movie.
It was an experience. It was an experience, and everybody was like, it was Tarantino. I got so tired of like, because like 2 of the 3 times I saw Star Wars, I had like so many like trendy little hipster fucks that were too good for the movie. This just seeing Tarantino once, I just saw all like these people who looked like film snobs and also a lot of like kind of like hipsterish people. I'm just like, oh fuck, I really hope. Then everyone was quiet. Everyone shut the fuck up, and and then people were laughing on all the right spots. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll say this is also probably one of his funniest movies too. In the most
I think so too.
It
almost is like a partial comedy because there's a lot of good laughs in it.
Yeah, like shit that's kind of like, I think a lot of people would find it very morbid, but if you have like a fucked up sense of humor, you'll be cracking up, especially near the end of the movie.
Well, because it's like fantastic dark comedy. Or even the beginning. I just love how like Kurt Russell has like, he's in this stagecoach that he paid for to go to this town to take this bounty in, and he's called the Hangman because pretty much what he does is when he gets a bounty, even if it says wanted dead or alive, he doesn't kill him. He wants to take his bounty all the way and watch him get hung, and that's just his thing. So he's got this lady who's like pretty much handcuffed to him, and they're riding a stagecoach. Yeah, and like every single time she says something stupid or gets out of line, he just literally just turns and punches her in the face or elbows her or whatnot, and she just kind of takes it, almost kind of like in a scary way, where she just sits there and laughs and then like licks the blood and whatnot, and almost just like she's sort of into it. It's like a really kind of weird one. It's not like she sits there and screams or anything like that. It's just, oh, that's it. And then I just got like, because then everybody else just starts punching her, and it's just kind of.
Well, even this, it's like something like he'll say like, is that like, he says like, you're being pretty mean to that. He's like, Samuel Jackson says something like, says, yeah, like, you're being pretty hard on that lady. Ah, she's no lady.
Yeah, they just keep going like, nope, you're not a lady.
Yeah.
And I was glad just to see Kurt Russell just finally have a big role again. Because, I mean, he's been like, he was in Expendables 3. Or no, not Expendables 3. Fast and the Furious 7. I knew I'd get that confused. But other than that, though, it's been a while since he's kind of been a main character.
Yeah, it's not since been like, I think Death Proof since he's been the main character in a movie. Maybe
that's like the closest one I can think of. I mean, there's
before
probably
that I can think of Miracle. So
yeah, Miracle's one of the last really big movies of him. There's other ones where he's in, but he's not one of the main ones. Where this one, he's pretty much like, I mean, technically Samuel Jackson's the main character of the whole movie, but Kurt Russell's probably maybe like the second.
Yeah, and like this movie really does the whole thing because I mean. The thing about like a Tarantino movie, I think it happened more in his older movies than his newer movies, but there'd be that thing like you go see Pulp Fiction and I say you go see it in the theater. I saw it on DVD, but you know what I mean. Anyway, you watch Pulp Fiction for the first time, and when like you're just kind of like, okay, these are the main characters, and then when like Vincent is killed, like offhand, no big deal, right in the middle of Bruce Willis's story, you're like, oh fuck, that was like the main character back in like a story ago. That's so weird that he could just die off, no problem. Or it's kind of like how in Reservoir Dogs, how people were dying off, like how like when like Mr. Blonde, right when we get to know him, right before he's supposed to set Marvin on fire, he gets shot up. You're like, oh fuck, Yeah. So it kind of has that thing, no one is safe. This and like after a while, even Django, like I felt like, okay, well, Django's not going to die yet, at least. Neither is the king. Like King Schultz will probably live for a good portion of the movie, at least if he does die. I just get that vibe that this is like one of the movies where anybody can die at any moment.
Oh yeah, well that's like this movie is one of those ones, The Hateful Eight. I hope people see it without anybody ever telling them what happened to that movie, because. It's one of those ones you really don't know what's going to happen in it. Like that's what I liked about it. Where other movies you can always kind of guess, oh yeah, Captain America's going to get out of here. Why? Because he's Captain fucking America, Mm-hmm. But like in a movie like this, you don't know who's going to live or die. Like the whole time, I was not too sure who was going to be the one person to walk out of the cabin, or to at least be the last one alive in the cabin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like this one, like I'll say that like okay, so there's even a part where in the middle, like near the end of the movie, where we'll work our way to the main part of it. But I mean, there's a part in the movie where someone basically gets their nuts blown off. You're like, oh fuck, he's out of the movie now. Like that's something you do not do to like this particular character. You're like, that is seriously one of the last fucking things I would expect to happen to this character. They cut to like a flashback story and they cut back. He's still alive, but it's one of those things like the idea of just like you're A, getting your nuts blown off, B, being this guy, just like you really did throw a curveball at me. I really did not see that shit coming. And when like some of the twists do happen, it's like at a logical point. Like at a certain point, certain people team up. And a lot of times when like you wouldn't expect these certain people to team up, it's just like that seems kind of forced. But in this movie, the way they go about it, it's like that actually makes sense. It's a progression the way they go about it,
Yeah, and I guess from this point on, we could just say like because
so it happens.
There's only one way to talk about this movie. It's either because you can't really talk too hard in this movie if you want to go spoiler free. So we are just going to literally kind of go into it. So if you have not seen The Hateful Eight, it is so worth going out and seeing it. It's like Star Wars. You got to see it before somebody else talks about it. And this one is way more than Star Wars even. Star Wars more for about one major scene. This one for about 10 major scenes.
God, wasn't that fucked up when Rey got her head cut off at the end of Star Wars? Like, you're not going to walk out of there saying that shit, Although I love Star Wars. I mean, I think I still might like Star Wars more than this. I need to see this again. But I gotta say, this movie is still, like, I can't believe... because even though I love Django, I wasn't that shocked on Django. This, I was legitimately shocked on a couple of things.
Well, this movie is one of those ones, like, because I was thinking about it, because we're coming up to our, like, just our annual top movies of the year thing, and I was putting my list together. And this is one of those ones where it's just like, the experience of watching this movie is so amazing. But some other movies that I put kind of ahead of it, I kind of just said, it's almost like, I know that the only thing about The Hateful Eight, it's not one of those movies you'd watch a copious amount of times. Like, I could not imagine just, like, continually watching it, like, 3 days in a row, over and over and over again. It's not like... It's one of those ones you'll watch like once in a while, but really enjoy that experience. But that first experience, like almost like I guess in a sense in a horror movie, like any good horror movie, that first time you watch it is like the most magical time of it.
Yeah.
You know, the only time I guess it's really magical again is if you wait like 10 plus years until you kind of forget what happened in the movie and then watch it again and then go, oh fuck, I forgot about this and that.
Because so much of this movie hinges on the final act.
Yeah. And it's almost one of those ones, because what's it got, 5 chapters in the movie?
Yeah. It's like, actually, it hinges on the final 2 acts, I guess you'd say, primarily, what most of the stuff in this movie.
But, I guess, let's see.
So, basically, as you said earlier, Kurt Russell is taking a bounty across basically, it's Wyoming, isn't it?
Yeah, they're in Wyoming. And then the first person he runs into is he picks up Samuel L. Jackson, and he's a bounty hunter, too. And it's out, and it's snowing and everything. And, you know, he finds a way through a long conversation of like, hey, we met each other once, you know, we're both going to the same place. Hey, can I catch a ride or else I'm going to freeze to death out of here, blah, blah, blah. So they get in there, and then they go through a bunch of neat, long conversations, which there's one scene where it's like Samuel Jackson has this letter that's been written to him from Abraham Lincoln. And Kurt Russell's just like, can I see that letter again? I know you don't like pulling it out, but it's just the most marvelous thing ever. And he pulls it out, and they do it kind of well too, where like he doesn't read it. He just looks at it and just has like that look of like, oh man, this is just so good. So good. And then he reads the very last line, and that's it. And then he puts the letter away. And this letter carries on till the last scene of the entire movie, which is kind of neat. Now, are you going to say what you were going to say?
Well, I was going to say, I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but Samuel Jackson is a Union soldier. He was a Union. This is just a little after the Civil War. He's a Union soldier, and he claimed that like, oh, but that's how he somehow became kind of pen pals with Lincoln. And a little funny thing that kind of happened. One of the more fucked up things, but kind of a funny thing that happened in that whole caravan scene is there's a part where, you know, because the Daisy Domergue, who is the character Jennifer Jason Leigh plays, she's just some arrogant redneck outlaw, and she just like they went after Kurt Russell's. Don't look at the letter like, oh, that's a wonderful letter written by. Then looks at her, written by Abraham Lincoln himself. Then she just flat out spits on the letter. Then Samuel Jackson just punches her in the fucking face, and then
she goes flying out the window.
Kurt Russell's handcuffed to her, so she goes flying, he goes flying, and like it's like, oh fuck, they jump out there. And it's one of those things like something I like is even because everybody in this movie is basically calling like Samuel Jackson nigger every 5 seconds, and the one character to be kind of on his side and have respect for him is Kurt Russell, and I kind of like the camaraderie they have. Like they got this really good like mutual respect for each other. Like they don't entirely trust each other, but they got enough respect for one another to, you know, get by. And they're like kind of the only ones they sort of trust in this whole situation.
Yeah, because then they run across another guy who's going to become the sheriff. And they also have a lot of this like kind of like mix of like Union / Confederate, because I think it's supposed to be almost like 20 years or so afterwards, because that's what I'm assuming why Samuel Jackson's old and why there's the Confederate leader is really old and all that stuff.
Walter Goggins played the other guy, played the sheriff.
Yeah, the sheriff guy, and he was a Confederate soldier too, or no, his dad was in there. That's what it was, because he's younger, so he's just kind of like Mr. You know, Confederate flag waving, you know, Southern guy who moved up to Wyoming somehow, some way to get because he got a sheriff job. So, but
it was one of those things like
after this character starts off at first, you're like, oh, he seems like kind of a nice guy, and then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know if I like this guy. He seems really racist and very, like, Confederate-y. But as the movie progresses on, it gets weird to the point where it's like, no, this guy's actually he's almost the good guy of the movie again. He flip-flops a bunch, which I think is cool.
Well, it's kind of like he seems like such a weak character as the movie starts, and then it goes on. So something they reveal about him is pretty quickly into the conversation, they assume that he is a what was it exactly? It was something to the effect of like him and his father were part of the Confederacy or something to that effect, and they did not go with the merge. Like, we don't care if like they gave up. We were not going with the Union. We're still Confederate balls. Yeehaw! And he's one of the last ones left. So, and now he's going on his way to this town they're all trying to get to become the new sheriff. But then, like you said, you realize at first he seems like a bumbling idiot. Then he seems like a fucking racist dickhead. But then as it goes on, you realize he's a little smarter. Like a racist dickhead, well, she said earlier, racist dickhead who actually might also be kind of like a shisty liar criminal. And then you see he's a little smarter than he lets on. And he's actually, I mean, I'm not going to say he's a good guy, but he's way better than you thought he was originally.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, it's kind of like, I really got respect for a movie that can legitimately make me not, I mean, I didn't hate him. I was like, make him go away. But I was like, I don't really care for this character, which I think we were meant to. But then to suddenly like him, like if you could do that naturally, not make me like him because the movie told me to like him. But if you could like naturally make that happen, I give that movie so much respect. Make me actually change my mind on a character before it's over.
Yeah, exactly, because lots of times, like, I hate when movies force you to do it. When you go, no, this person did a bunch of horrible things. How am I supposed to like the guy now? But this is one of those ones, not like he did anything horrible. He just kind of just talked like a dick for a while. Mm-hmm. But then as it kind of goes on, and he teeter-totters all the time. He's like, you just don't know when, is he going to go back and forth? Is he going to be on Samuel Jackson's side? Or is he going to, go on the other person's side and so on? And the interesting about this movie, too, is you don't, like, almost like the theme of this movie is like lies. Because you don't know what's true and what's not true. And even when the movie's done, there's a lot of things that you still have no idea if they're true or if they're not true. Like certain things characters say, certain things characters do. Like him. We never really know if he actually is going to be that sheriff. It never, you know what I mean? Because everybody's questioning him the whole time. It's like, are you really a sheriff? I think he's a fucking liar. Kurt Russell never believes him the whole time. And other stuff like that. But it happens with other characters too. It's like that Abraham Lincoln note that Samuel Jackson has. At some point, him and the Confederate guy started to get into a conversation where they start arguing and stuff. And he's like, it's not a fucking real thing. And he's like, yes, it is. And he's like, no, it's not from Abraham Lincoln, blah, blah, blah. They do it much better than that. And it gets to a point, this is about the only thing that kind of bothered me in the movie. But then he goes, no. Or Samuel Jackson says, no, the letter isn't real. I made it up because by having this letter, it makes people believe me more on other things and gets trust, like you, Kurt Russell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the one thing that was like, I thought it was kind of cooler when, like, it's about my only slight complaint movie. I think that should have been from Abraham Lincoln. I don't know why. I thought that was just a cool little thing. It's like, yeah, why would Abraham Lincoln not write to this guy? Like, that's just like a neat little small thing. And then when it's kind of like, oh, it's fake, then you start going like, well, if he lies about that, what else is he lying about? And other characters do that too. So you start questioning all these little things in the movie.
I think actually, by a few of his last lines, though, I think Walter Goggins really is the sheriff because, I mean, if you're listening this far, you've probably seen the movie by now. He's like, "Is my first and final act as the sheriff?" He's not performing for anybody. It's just the three of them left. The last three, they're pulling on the noose. So I'm pretty sure that by that point, maybe he could still be lying, but I'm assuming like he's not making it out of there. Who's he lying for? You know what I mean? One of those kind of things.
Yeah, but it's still never confirmed. Is I guess what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And then, it's like once. I guess we could even get to like what kind of happens on from there. So they show up, Samuel Jackson, the sheriff, and Kurt Russell show up to the cabin. And in there's like four guys there. You got Michael Madsen, you got Tim Roth, you got the older Confederate sergeant guy. I don't know that actor's name. And then I think he's a big older actor. I don't know his name either. But he had a quick scene in Django Unchained, and he was the guy that like Django. He sold Django. He's like, you got sand. I got no, that guy. And then like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Glasses. You sell them separately, and you sell him cheap. He's that guy.
That's right. I knew he was in stuff, but I could not think of what the hell he was in.
I think he was one of those actors. He had a lot more. He was like bigger in the 70s. Like he just one of those actors Tarantino likes a lot, like Michael Parks, and he just likes to use them like those kind of roles real quick.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was Mexican Bob or
Bob the Mexican.
What was it? Senor Bob.
Senor Bob, yeah. And then there was Tim Roth playing, like, even though he's British, playing the most over-the-top British guy possible. And
like almost like Butler British, like
beyond Alfred British. And then
really like that, almost like that chewing up the scenery type acting,
which is fun. Some people. I read some reviews, and some people they liked the movie, but they didn't like that. I liked that.
I'm totally fine with because that's what I call character. Because there's a lot of movies out there nowadays. It's the grounded in reality movies where they take away a lot of the character, and then you walk away and you don't really remember them. See, when you got character like that, that character sticks with you, you know.
And I think it made sense because he's definitely lying the whole time. So it thinks if you find out what he really is, it makes sense that maybe it wouldn't be believable in that aspect, but it's like you could tell he's kind of acting within the movie, like acting within acting, kind of like pretending to be this very over the top, hello, British fellow, when just because he has a British accent, when you find out he's just a fucking outlaw. You know what I mean? So and he just talks way regularly. He talks way like he doesn't have as much of a flamboyantness to him once you see him not pretending to be almost like this Irish butler character. Not Irish, British butler character.
Yeah. Well, the thing kind of ties into with Kurt Russell and everything is he's like, oh, well, I'm the hangman of the town. So once again, all these like bounty hunters and their bounties are all starting to tie together. You got the sheriff, you got the hangman, you got the bounty hunters, all these little things, almost like too perfect. Like they all happen to be on this trip towards that town, all get stuck in the snowstorm.
And then go ahead.
I would say once again makes you start thinking who's lying, who's not, questioning everything in it.
Then Michael Madsen is basically just playing.
Michael Madsen.
He's playing. Yeah, I was gonna say
because he's just because Michael Madsen's so haggard nowadays. He's fucking like a Nick Nolte of now. He's just like a little bit younger Nick Nolte because he gets on screen, he's just like, just to a point, just like Jesus Christ, what happened to that guy's vocal cords? And I love Michael Madsen, don't get me wrong, but he's just like at this point where you look at him like Reservoir Dogs, like, man, that's a good looking guy and all that stuff like that. And now he's just that guy who's just like kind of chunky, just like his hair is just a fucking mess, just like looks like he probably hasn't taken a shower in 3 days.
I love it when he ever does these kind of movies. The thing is, a lot of times Michael Madsen, it's just like people are so excited when like it's like Tarantino, Michael Madsen, that works. Like, what about Michael Madsen in this other movie? Like, I don't know, because it's always something kind of like Blood Rain or like some straight to DVD like
motorcycle one.
Yeah. Then like it's always
it was Tarantino produced, which made me have good faith because other Tarantino produced movies were amazing, like Hostel and Ong Bak, but did Tarantino produce Ong Bak or was it The Protector?
I think Protector.
Yeah, you're right. Because it doesn't matter. Both those movies are amazing, but I knew it was one of them. So like I was like, well, why would Tarantino lie to me? And then that one was like, wasn't bad, but it was just kind of it was one of those like okay ones. It was like, okay, I saw it, but
But it's like he's always in like that kind of stuff. So it's like whenever like people don't really give a fuck, but when it's Tarantino and like Michael Madsen, that's when people get really excited again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because that there's magic to be had there.
Yeah, there's some weird thing like that, but yeah, he's just playing some lonesome. He's pretending to be some lonesome cowboy. Like these like all these other guys that were already at the cabin. Senor Bob, the British dude played by Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, and I think that's it as far as that whole circle is concerned. I think
there's mostly about 4, 4, and 4. I noticed that's kind of how the groups work.
They have all the characters right here. Yeah, Michael Madsen.
Because there's 4. Well,
then there's the Confederate. Earlier we were talking about Walter Goggins as the Confederate. Well, let's just say he was sort of Confederate. Let's just call him the sheriff because there's the old Confederate man who sits in the chair. Who's that's the other guy. So,
and then the other guy we forgot too is there's the Kurt Russell stagecoach driver.
OB.
So there's pretty much there's 4 with the Kurt Russell party, 4 with the Tim Roth party, And then there's 4 with the Channing Tatum party. Was there? Well, Channing Tatum party is technically the other one, just including the Confederate guy. There's 4 with what's the black lady's name?
This is gonna get confusing. All right, so we'll just not worry about.
We just assume that. Here's the thing. I'm trying to make sense between us. We're just assuming that like people have been this far into it.
Caravan party. We got Kurt Russell, OB, Daisy Domergue,
and Samuel Jackson,
and like Samuel Jackson's character, and then you got then you get to the cabin, because technically we have 9 people for a portion of the movie. But OB just happens to be along for the ride, even though he's the caravan driver. But anyway, so then they get to the cabin, and then we get the Confederate old-timer guy, we get Tim Roth, we get Michael Madsen, and Senor Bob. So
that's 8.
That's 8 if you disinclude OB. So, the driver.
No, wait. Oh, yeah, you're right.
So
there's 9. If you disinclude the driver who doesn't get
the algebra of Hateful Eight, explained by Old Man Orange for 15 minutes. No, wait. So is
how many people are in the cabin again?
Is Samuel Jackson the X variable, or is Daisy Domergue the Y variable? Fuck, man. No. So then they get there, and here is one of the most shocking parts of the movie, and this is the halfway point. So they all get in the cabin, they all start talking. Samuel Jackson is on to Senor Bob, because the place is called Minnie's Haberdashery, and it's this little, kind of like just cabin you stay in, you pay, you can buy supplies and crash there for a few days or whatever. He knows her pretty well. And he's on Senor Bob. Senor Bob claims to work there. And he's just like, that's weird. Does Mimi do this? Does Mimi do that? Oh, that's weird that Mimi did that way. He's just like, what's so weird about it, my friend? He's like, oh, nothing. Just seems kind of odd, And then, only way more well-written than that and way more badass because it's Samuel Jackson. And then what ends up happening is Samuel Jackson. There's a lot of tension between Samuel Jackson and the Confederate because, A, he's a black dude. B, he's in Union uniform, talking to a Confederate. And there's a scene that I like, but I know it's not going to last, but it's one of those things. He goes up to him and he's showing him respect. He's like, we shared a battlefield, and it's kind of like, what I like about that scene is that they're sitting there. It's just like these guys who are by every means arch nemesis are sitting there and being respectful of one another, because it's one of those things. Like, I mean, you can kind of see somebody who or think of somebody and you hate. If you were put in a situation where you had to sit there and talk to them, even though you don't really mean it, you probably would, after a while, just be like, so, what you been up to? How have you been? That's good. How many kids? You probably would reach that point. I mean, maybe not everybody, but I think most people would probably be like that if you were forced into a situation where you're stuck with somebody. And it's actually a very well-written scene. Then it takes a hard, sharp right turn. The Confederate starts talking about his son. Samuel Jackson says, so funny you should say that. Your son. I actually met your son. Put it together. You want it to happen? I killed your son. It was like,
well, I like the way he even says it too. He's like, yeah, I saw your son the last day he was alive. I was like, what do you mean? Or he's like, yeah, because I'm the one that killed him.
In the way even the Samuel Jackson, he almost talks with his eyes. Like, he almost, like, if you look at his eyes, they almost widen, his pupils dilate and shrink and grow, like, on certain, like, when he enunciates certain parts of words, It was just like, he was there. When he died, his eyes widened, pupil, like, it's almost kind of creepy, like, oh, shit, And then he tells the story. It's just kind of like, I mean, I knew
this is the only part of the movie where really, other than, like, one of those scenes where it's like, this, like, breaks from me in the cabin. It actually has a flashback, and we get to hear Samuel Jackson narrating, and we get to see this.
You tell, I've been talking for a while.
Well, because it happens, this is about the one part that's kind of like Reservoir Dogs style, where it switches and like, well, we get something else. And he's like, well, I was up, here, hanging out or whatnot, and Sam Jackson explains, he's like, that, the South kept sending because he had this huge bounty on his head, so, good old boys from the South would come up, trying to think they'd make it rich by getting me. And I always killed every single one of them. Your son happened to be one of them. But I wasn't just going to kill him there. It's like, I was going to drag this one out. So he's like, so I stripped him butt naked and tied him up and made him walk for a fucking couple of hours in like the coldest winter in Wyoming or Minnesota, or wherever the fuck that was. There was. You thought tonight was cold? Out there was even colder. He's like, I walked until he got delirious and everything. And then I said, you know what? There's one way you can live. And then it just shows this old white man like, there was a one way he could live. He's like, yeah, there was one way he could live. I told him to suck on my big, juicy black cock. And that's just what made it so funny, because you're just looking at it. Literally just reminds me of that thing of just like,
sounds like a fucked up joke we would have come up with on the show. And I was just like, I can't spoil. I saw it before you. Like, dude, there's literally, I won't say what. There's literally, it sounds like some kind of joke we'd make, but it's part of the fucking movie.
And I just love that part, because I just get some, the white guy's expression, it's just like every fear that the white man has against the black guy is right there. It's just like, my pure, heart son is sucking a black man's cock. It's gay. It's black. It's everything I hate.
And then you cut to Samuel Jackson. You don't see him actually blowing him, but you see his head like in front of him. You see Samuel Jackson grabbing by head and like getting fucking blown. Like not even like yeah, just like
we're just like
about it,
like he's at a fucking carnival or something.
He's going out to drop at the fucking like Big Dipper.
Yeah, like he's just having the greatest old time on rides.
Like you could have taken a picture of him, like at the if you when you go to top of like a drop. Like any roller coaster, they take a picture of the drop. His face is the same as what it is right there. Someone smiling, mouth wide open.
And
that time in Wyoming,
And I just that part right there just to watch. And what he kind of does is he leaves a gun right there, and it's like his way of kind of eliminating that guy. Because once the white guy finally breaks and picks it up and goes to shoot Samuel Jackson, he shoots him first, and then it's it's legal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good old-fashioned way, leave a gun out for somebody, piss him off, have him pick it up, you shoot him first.
And that's one of those things we don't know if he was bullshitting or if that really did happen, but either way, they went out of the way and filmed it. And I was just, you feel like, like it's one of those things like he says like one of the saddest thing near the end, he wasn't asking for me to like save him, wasn't asking to live, wasn't even asking for me to kill him. He just wanted a blanket. You know what he was willing to do for that blanket? Just a blanket. And I didn't give it to him.
I didn't even give it to him.
It was just, that right there, that's the part right after he shoots the old timer, it then cuts to intermission.
Is that really what it did?
That's where it cuts to intermission.
Because on that, because mine just went to chapter 3 or 4, whatever the hell it was by that point.
I can only imagine if you saw that movie, because I can see a bunch of good old boys in Tuolumne going to see that movie. Be like, yeah, man, it's a fucking Western. Yeah, bro, let's check this shit out. And then as soon as that part happens, just seeing all those cowboy hats rise and leave the theater.
Yeah. Because that's the one be like, it's both gay and black. Fuck this.
It's Bruno all over again.
That was one of the funniest moments. I just remember, like, we went, it was like four of us to go see Bruno, all guys, because we're like, fucking Sacha Baron Cohen, Borat was the shit, and we're like in there, and then we're sitting at the top watching. We look down, and like everybody else there seems to be like couples night, and we're just probably like these 4 guys that everybody else looks up there and go like, oh, those guys must be all fucking each other at the end of the movie. Like, why else would 4 guys be here?
Like a fucking train.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden there's these guys like in fucking 10-gallon hats will show up, in their fucking gay-ass Wranglers, like up to like their hips, shirt tucked in, cowboy boots and everything. It's funny.
Oh, you're in the right place. It's a perfect movie for you.
Well, it's just one of those ones too. It's funny. For as much as I love like a Clint Eastwood cowboy, when you see those kind of like real life cowboys, I just hate them so much. It's like, it's the weirdest thing. But you see that, and it's just like, and I'm like, we're just looking like, do they know what they're in here for? Like maybe they thought,
it's like
I'm not saying that they could have thought Borat was funny, but I don't think they're gonna like this one.
It's one of those things where it's kind of like every so often when you got someone trying so hard to be macho, 360s around becoming gay again, kind of like what you said.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid, I think. So manly, it's gay. It's kind of the same thing. When you got these guys all trying to outman each other, you're like, yeah, man, we're just gonna be so fucking tough, or assless chaps. But we're in jeans, so it's okay. But just that whole thing is just like, I don't know. I just can't get like modern cowboy culture. I really can't fucking get it.
Well, that's just like, it's like guys in the military. They mostly always, like, I'm not saying anything against this, but like, it gets to a point when you put a bunch of men in a room together, at some point, they're going to each try to take their dicks out and try to put it in each other's mouth, and they'll be like, oh, you're fucking gay. But for some reason, to them, they're not the one being gay, though they're the one trying to put their dick in someone else's mouth. I don't understand that concept.
Hey, guys, I'll stand in a circle and slap our dicks together. First one to get hard, it's a fag.
And that's mostly, I always just know is whenever you get, that's why I've never been a big fan of like areas where there's just like only men together, because something about it, you get these people that are so fucking manly, then it just starts to get really gay and like scary gay, like rape gay, like prison gay.
It's like that episode of Boondocks you were talking about.
I'm gonna get that booty.
Yeah, it's just like, I like you, I want you, and I want that booty. It's like
out here, I'm getting that booty. Ow.
For like 2 hours, they're sitting there talking to these kids like, now we ain't gay. We don't even like dick. We don't even like fucking dick, fucking men. But this is what you got to do. And for like 2 hours, just talking about different ways they fuck each other. I call this the peanut butter jelly and cock. He says, so what I'm going to do is I just like slam this shit all over your ass. I fuck you, and then you lick it off. Just literally just, now we ain't gay, but it's just what we do here. They keep on saying that throughout the whole episode.
Speaking really quickly, I know you didn't get a trailer on fucking Hateful Eight, but did you see the new Sacha Baron Cohen trailer?
No, what's that? Oh, wait, is this the one? Is this the secret
like an
agent
action
one?
Movie comedy?
Yeah, I seen that online. Yeah, that one looks like it could be funny.
Yeah, it doesn't look as good as the other ones, but whenever he's got a movie, I'm like, I'm there, because...
Yeah, I like his hidden camera stuff, but I think he's so famous now, it's kind of hard to get away with the hidden camera stuff.
Yeah, but, well, back to the Hateful Eight, after the intermission.
So, once they get back, they kills them. That's where this is where the movie takes another rough turn, crazy turn, and someone poisons a coffee, and first person to drink it is OB, and right after OB is Kurt Russell, and then that's where they have this violent, like Evil Dead blood vomit, just blah blah, like over the top, and like Walter Goggins is about to drink it, but Kurt Russell stops him, like don't, and he starts doing it, just like, oh fuck, Kurt Russell. Once Kurt Russell died, I mean, it's like he had enough in the movie to make himself look cool, but it was one of those things. It sucked to see him die, but it's like it's kind of like, all right, this is old school Tarantino. Anybody can fucking die.
Yeah, because you have a big actor like Kurt Russell, you assume that since he's kind of the main character, he's going to make it at least to the very end. But to have him kind of go, not necessarily, I guess, it's like the 60% point of the movie or something like that, or a little bit farther than that. I mean, and he still technically gets, in a flashback, he gets a little bit more screen time, but it is that sort of thing where it's like, oh, fuck. So there goes, in a sense, like what you almost think being like one of your main characters is already gone.
Yeah. And then from there, they then get like Samuel Jackson pulls guns out on everybody and says, okay, you're all going to get against the wall. Walter Goggins joins him because he's like, I trust you because your dumbass almost drank the fucking coffee, so you don't know either. So you're with me. And from there, they kind of have a little bit of a shaky truce, not like they're best friends, but kind of like, what? And, kind of like Samuel Jackson's almost telling Walter Goggins what to do, like he's a sidekick now,
Yeah. At first, he was saying all this racist shit about like him, and now they're all like kind of... Well, it's what I like about that relationship, though. It's almost like, in the movie almost ends where they're like buddy-buddy.
Yeah. I think what the movie's trying... We'll get around to like the whole story in a second, but I think what the movie's ultimately trying to say, the movie's definitely partially about race relations, but I think it's almost something to the effect of like, and I don't want to sound cheesy here, but kind of like, I guess, in the face of like surviving or in the face of justice, or like, or for the sake of justice or something like that, all that shit can kind of be pushed aside when it gets right down to like survival and something to the effect of like, okay, we all agree that this person's evil. Okay, like two people who usually would be mortal enemies are able to band together.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's almost another thing, too, that was kind of interesting. And this, once again, goes with something like, because there's always these questions in the movie. But at the very beginning, when they first find the sheriff, Kurt Russell looks at Samuel Jackson and goes, is this guy with you? And he's like, no, he's not with me. He's like, I don't trust him. Why is anybody out here in a snowstorm like this? And if he's not with you, put these fucking handcuffs on. And for a while there, so he kind of goes like this, and then they realize, okay, you guys aren't buddies, so on. But almost by the time the end of the movie goes, you could almost go, were they buddies the whole time? And were they both playing a really fucking great act of making each other seem like they were mortal enemies, but they were technically both in on it? Once again, never says any of that stuff, but it makes you think. And I think that's just one of the coolest things about this movie is just all these different like conclusions someone can come up with it. Like you could talk to 5 different people, and everyone might have this sort of kind of different opinion of sort of how these characters are and what's true, what's not true, and so on. But it kind of made me think from that scene in the very beginning when he asks if they are together, and then you kind of see later on, it's like, they end up working together in the end. It could have been.
Maybe, like, they're waiting for them to just be alone, for them to actually just kind of... I could see something kind of like that. I didn't think about that, but I mean, that could be true. I got to see it again. There's probably little subtle notes throughout it. So that's where... So basically, Samuel Jackson gets them all at gunpoint, saying, all right, you all get against the wall, and he deducts everything, kind of like Sherlock Holmes. Kind of just flat out says, like, all right, here's how I know... you like he breaks down what each person does. He goes to Senior Bob. He says, okay, here's how I know you're like up to no good. Because Mimi has been running this place for this long. You said she went home from Christmas. She's not the Christmas type. This and that, yada yada yada. And like says like there's also a sign up there that says like she like no Mexicans and no dogs. She took that sign down, so I'm pretty because she ended up later getting a dog. But I'm pretty sure that if she was going to leave her livelihood, she wouldn't leave it to like a Mexican. So explain that to me. That just like says a few more things. And I don't remember if Bob goes for another gun or something. But then like Samuel Jackson shoots him and then literally points 2 guns at him, blows his fucking head off. His head just goes to mush.
Yeah, his face blows off more than anything. It's not even like his head blows off. It's like his whole face just blasts backwards.
Yeah. It's just so it's like, oh, fuck, you know. And to me, it's kind of like Kill Bill had a higher body count, but this movie's just bloodier to me because, I don't know, this Kill Bill was so, like, slash blood spray. This, like, when you see, for me, it's like when I see, like, brain particles and skull particles and that kind of shit, it's way more effective to me, you know?
No, yeah, I like that when they go, like, really in-depth into it. And it is one of those kind of things where... Or we never really mentioned this, but like Michael Madsen's character is sort of really like the
he's
like the wild card because you really have no idea what the hell. Like if anything, I just remember kind of watching him like I know it's Michael Madsen, so for one, but like you almost just kind of think like what's he gonna do because everybody else sort of has a story and his story really isn't. It's just kind of like out here, you know, gonna go home for Christmas. Haven't been home for Christmas in a while. You don't really look like the going home type. Yeah, well, fuck you. I'm gonna go sleep on this bed for a while.
Yeah.
And he's just like laying there on the bed, like everybody else is there. Just don't mind me. I'm just gonna get my skivvies and hang out here. He's like the kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that everybody's gonna be over at the house, and he just kind of shows up. He's like, "Oh, I'm getting comfortable," and just comes in and sits in his boxers and sits on the couch next to everyone.
Takes like a beer cozy that's not his.
Yeah, exactly. You don't mind, do you?
Michael Madsen definitely seems kind of like an uncle. Kind of like, you know, here, it's Uncle Mike. Dad's like, oh, fuck. Hey, Mike. How you doing? I'm doing good. We got the beer. Like, oh, you got this. What's this craft beer shit? Like, oh, it's pretty good. Give it a shot. You don't got Coors Light? No, we don't got Coors Light.
What a fucking American are you?
Yeah. I'll tell you, whatever. Is that fucking apricot? No, it's just have whatever you want, Mike. It's just like, what are you watching? Like, we're watching Orange is the New Black. Shit. Let's put on the Steelers game. Oh, he seems like that kind of. Like that's kind of like every character.
Beard chucks it at the wall. Like he's at some.
Billy, clean that up. My name's Danny. You'll clean it up, Billy.
I don't want to step on glass later. Well, then why'd you throw the beer against the wall? Clean the fucking glass up.
So, just I'll let you look at my porn stash later. Well,
okay.
Uncle Mike, I got an iPhone now, so I don't need that. You fuck. I didn't have no iPhone when I was your age.
Takes the iPhone, throws it against the wall. Now you don't. Clean it up.
Just clean that up. Clean that up with Uncle Mike.
Played by Michael Madsen.
So basically, he's the guy that you don't know what he is, like the wild card. It's a good way of putting it. He's basically also Mr. Blonde if he was in the Wild West. And then what ends up happening is Samuel Jackson just deducts everything. I don't remember all the details. I got to see it again. It's a long movie, but then it's
a lot to take in.
Like he mentions a couple times, like Sweet Bob left this chair. Man, Sweet Bob always loves this chair. He hardly ever leaves that chair. He sometimes just sleeps in it. The only time he gets up is to eat or shit, you know. And then he removes a few blankets off the chair. You see, there's a blood stain right on it. He's like, huh. That's funny, isn't it? You know? And then I think that's right when he kills Senor Bob. And then he says, like, all right, so he turns around, so who's next? He says, if you don't come up and who poisoned the coffee, I'm just going to, like, poison this bitch right here. He goes up and grabs the pot of coffee. He's about to pour it down Daisy's neck. And
because
here's
the whole
probably...
time they're thinking that Daisy is connected to one of these people.
Yeah. And this is, like, probably the shockingest part. More than the blowjob scene. This is the shockingest part. Two gunshots come right from beneath the floorboards, right into Samuel Jackson's nuts. And he falls back screaming. Like, I understand. I mean, I haven't had it happen to me, thank Christ. But,
I understand, you know, I can relate to this.
Well, it's like, you think that Samuel Jackson's, like, you know, Samuel Jackson, he's the toughest guy, like, one of the, like, toughest, like, most badass character actors around. But it's one of those things when he falls back, he's like, oh my God! Ah! Which makes sense, and you understand, but it's like, oh my fucking God. Like, one of the last things you'd expect him to see, he shot my fucking nuts off! Ah! You're just like in god-awful pain. Just like, what the fuck? I was not expecting that shit. And then it suddenly cuts to, like, the 4 passengers. And earlier that day...
Well, then you realize that it's Channing Tatum that blew his nuts off.
Yeah, well, it's too quick to see his face. I didn't notice that was his face. I saw there was someone under there. This is like, say goodbye to your huevos, bang bang. But I didn't see the face well enough, and that's when we see this caravan pull up to Minnie's Tavern. Or
this cuts it earlier in the day.
Whatever it's called, yeah. And there is Minnie. There is Zoe Bell, who was in Death Proof, and like she's a stunt actress in a lot of a stunt performer in a lot of Quentin Tarantino's movies. There was a poor there's a poor little black girl, which you absolutely feel horrible for. You feel
you really feel worse for her than anybody else. Then there's the guy who has the chair. I don't remember what his name was. Sweet Joe.
And go ahead.
And then the old Confederate guy is in there too. He's actually not part of anything else. He just happens to be sitting there playing fucking chess with Sweet Joe.
He's just sitting there, yeah.
And then
they show up. They show up in the caravan. Oh yeah, and then there's this like other
stagecoach driver guy.
Yeah, there's this big black guy that's there who just started working there, and you feel so fucking bad for that dude too. And yeah. I mean, you feel bad for all of them, but like him and the little girl, you feel the worst for. But anyway. So they get in there, and you see just a couple of feet. You're like, oh, well, they're here now. You see a couple of feet get off. The first person to come out of there is Channing Tatum. And I knew he was going to be in the movie because I saw the opening credits. Like, oh, Channing Tatum. But I think
he's the Anne character in the movie.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where you see him, like you think it would be one of those... if it wasn't for the opening credits, I know what he's trying to do. If it wasn't for the opening credits, like, oh, fuck, Channing Tatum. Just one of those surprises, you know? But he gets out like, oh wow, he's just like playing, you know, some suave like
he's trying out his Gambit role. That's really what I saw there. I'm like, dude, that's what he's doing.
There you go.
Because he's playing a Cajun guy.
So then he gets in there, and then you see like 3 other sets of feet get off the caravan and walk in. And who are they? They're everybody else in the cabin. They
Tim
are
Roth, Michael Madsen, and Senor Bob.
Senor Bob. And then they just kind of go in. It's just kind of standard conversations, and it's very tense because you know shit's about to go bad because all these other people are not there in the movie. They're not there, so you know shit's gonna go bad. And I also feel really bad for Zoe Bell because they make her like play the most nicest, most adorable, kind of friendliest person
just to get killed.
Just to get killed. And they're all, so it's just this big tension build up. They're all acting very nice and all very friendly with them. And then like they all just kind of give each other like this nod, like that Return of the Jedi, that dun, nodding to each other right before they shoot the lightsaber at R2. That doesn't happen. They just pull guns out and shoot everybody in the fucking head.
That would really throw you off. They fucking whip out lightsabers and shit.
Quinn's like, well, you see, man, I'm just trying to like keep up with the times. I know Star Wars is big right now, and I figured, what the fuck, I like it.
It's also 70s, so I mean, come on.
I mean, I like Star Wars. It's not my favorite thing, man, but I respect it. This is my homage to Star Wars because, they don't patent on laser swords, but they don't patent on the music. So this is the best thing I can do, man? So I can see him saying that.
Just one of those weird things. You're like, you wonder why Michael Madsen was the wild card? Well, apparently he time traveled from a distant galaxy as a Jedi. He's a Jedi? Yeah, he's a Jedi, half Sith, he's Michael Madsen. He started up. He's that Jedi you'd catch in the corner drinking a Qui-Gon.
Yeah. Betting on pod racing.
Exactly.
I don't know, Qui-Gon. I got it on set. Some Bulbafucker. That little goat monkey thing. He knows how to drive. Like, yeah, well, I got it all on this kid because, I don't know, I was drunk at the time. But we'll see what happens.
Thought the kid had spirit.
Maybe I'm fucking wrong. I've been wrong about other things. Oh, fuck, he won. Okay, it's all worked out for old Qui-Gon. All right.
But yeah, so you do get all these characters that show up, and you're waiting for that time for them to die. And they just have all these little, conversations. You learn a little bit more about the shop and kind of it's going on. And then, what's the first thing that makes them start killing everybody?
I don't think it's anything that starts. I think they're all just kind of giving each other like a nod and a look, kind of like, all right, it's no better time than now. And each one of them turns, because there's little things in the movie earlier on. Like there's like just a random jelly bean on the ground at some point, and someone looks up and they see like one of the
Samuel Jackson sees it, and he sees that the jar he's been picked up or something like that. And then the other thing too we didn't mention is the door handle getting blown off.
Oh yeah, because there's a part like whenever it's kind of an on-running joke throughout the movie, like the door, like to keep the door closed, you literally have to nail it shut with like a panel. And it's kind of funny because every single time someone walks in, like, open it, you gotta nail it shut, nail it shut, you gotta nail, every single time, like people saying the same things. It's kind of like one of those little like on-running jokes throughout the movie. So you see the hatch getting shot off by accident. It just causes, and like all these little things from earlier on in the movie all come together from this scene, and you just see all them kill all these people pretty brutally. I think the poor girl, like Mimi, gets shot in the head. Sweet Joe
gets
stabbed in the back with a knife pretty badly. The little girl, she gets like shot in the stomach, but doesn't die right away, and she's like breathing pretty heavy. I want to say you might even see like there's definitely blood. There might even be organs and stuff, but she gets shot.
And all she was trying to do was get fucking jelly beans up off the top rack.
For Tim Roth, yeah. And then like Zoe Bell gets shot in the chest and shot again. And then there's the guy who just started working there, walks in. Hey guys, like, oh fuck! He gets shot and he staggers off. And Michael Madsen
he runs out, and that's where you see that they blew off the door handle.
Yeah, and then it's just like a very slow. He just walks very casually, very slowly, just following this trail of blood. The guy's crying. I just started working here. Please don't. Boom, blood. Yeah, and then they're just cutting to them dropping bodies down the whale, and then like having like Channing Tatum give an evil bad guy speech like, yeah, so this sumbitch has my sister, and I'm gonna kill him, and you just do what old man do. Sit down, don't fucking talk to nobody. Don't be coherent, don't know, say your name, maybe, And then we cut to what's currently going on in the movie, and that's
now Samuel Jackson's fucking like in a bed or whatever, bleeding out his nuts.
I was kind of glad I feel bad for him, but I was glad he was still alive. So I was like, oh, fuck, he's out of the movie.
I thought he died right there. And I was kind of like, oh, there goes Samuel Jackson now. So fuck, who's the main character now?
But then by this point, it's him and Walter Goggins. And I forgot to mention Walter, like Tim Roth actually had a gun on him, so secretly. So Walter Goggins, I don't know if he got shot in the side or in the leg, but he's bleeding out.
Yeah, he shot in the leg. That's what it was.
That's right. He shot in the leg.
And also in that previous scene, they show that they hide a bunch of guns inside the cabin too.
That's right. They hid some around the area. That's correct. And then from there, it's basically Samuel Jackson then kills Michael Madsen, and the only people left by this point is Daisy Domergue. There's a little bit more of like conversation going on, kind of going back and forth. Everyone's trying to convince Walter Goggins, the sheriff, to just like kill Samuel Jackson just because he has a gun drawn on Daisy Domergue. He says like just kill Samuel Jackson. We're part of this big badass gang, and if you just kill him, we're not going to come after you. We have a bunch of people waiting in town, and it's kind of like just people just almost trying to convince him to do that. And then here's like probably the most fucked up, most funniest parts in there. Samuel Jackson gets a gun drawn on Daisy. He says, "You come out of that motherfucker who shot my nuts off. You best come out of that fucking hole. I'm going to shoot this bitch in the face." A gun flies up there. "There's your other one. I don't got another one. You best shit out a second gun. I'm going to shoot this fucking bitch." And then like a fucking gun goes up there. And then like they have this moment. Comes up, puts his hands behind his head. Channing Tatum looking all Mr. Pretty Face. Looks at the sister. She's like, "Bud." She's like, "Hey sis, I miss you. I miss you, dummy. I miss you too." It just like stop. Thoughts in the back of his head just explodes blood. Like blood, brain particles get all over her face and her hair. It's there for the rest of the movie. He's like, "He's just surrendering." He was surrendering too slowly.
I know, and that's another one too, because you go, "Oh fuck," because Channing Tatum, like I thought of him being a bigger character in the movie. It's like, oh no, I mean like he's got a big story arc, but it's like, oh, once again, you can't trust anything. You don't know who's gonna die.
It was just too fucking funny in so many fucked up ways, and then just a lot of tension between who's gonna live, like just them trying to talk Walter Goggins into letting Daisy go and killing Samuel Jackson.
And she keeps going the story like there should be 15 other gang members, blah blah blah. They're gonna show up here, once the snow melts because they'll realize that we didn't get there. Which you start kind of piecing this together and go like, that doesn't make any fucking sense, because if there's 15 other gang members, why would they all just be in the cabin at the same time? That'd just make this a whole lot easier. So you knew she was kind of lying right away from that, but it does have that tension still going.
Mm-hmm.
It is that point, because I was afraid too, because like, knowing Tarantino, you can get multiple endings. He's one of those kind of guys you can never really trust. He might have good endings sometimes, and he might make kind of dumb endings too. So,
the only really dumb ending
is Death Proof.
Why don't you think the ending's dumb? It's more of just like the pacing felt weird. I didn't really dislike that ending.
I guess the reason I don't like the ending of that one is I just don't like those three characters. So you have these characters that you're forcing me to like, and if I don't like them, why would I want them to win? So it's, I get what it is. It's that thing that like you expect Kurt Russell to be this badass guy, and then when he gets hurt and starts to run away, and then these girls are now like the horror movie characters hunting him down. It's supposed to be a turn. It's almost that sort of thing. It's like, well, what if Jason got pricked by like like some barbed wire and said, "Oh, my hand hurts," and started running away, and then they're like, Kevin Bacon started chasing him down, or not Kevin Bacon, but fucking the chick and any of the other ones. Lawrence Fishburne, for Christ's sakes. That's fucking Fred. Or
what if Kevin Bacon was chasing down Jason's mom?
Yeah, or Kevin Bacon.
Get over here, you old bitch! I mean, that would still look kind of like with the arrow she stabs through his neck.
Yeah, exactly. But so it's like that's my only fear is that Tarantino can do those ones where he thinks he's making like an ending that's going to be like, well, this will be way different, and then this there's some people that think it's cool, but then the others you're like, you literally did that to Kurt Russell, it's but in here what I like though is because like the one chick in the movie, what's her name in Hateful Eight? Oh, yeah, what? Like I never liked that girl the whole time. Like I was glad every single time she got hit. Every single time somebody barfed on her or something like that, I was happy because she was the bad guy of the movie the whole time. So, but I got that fear towards the end. It's like, oh fuck, is he gonna let her get away with it and have some weird thing like just because it did have this weird thing because she's really like the only female character in the movie for like the whole time, excluding the one flashback scene. You kind of wonder, it's like, and she's just being like horribly treated. But once again, we never know. It's like maybe she didn't commit any crime because it's the 1800s where all she had to do is be in the wrong place at the right time, and next thing you know, she's committed. So I didn't know if it was going to have one of those turnarounds where it's like, oh, and she gets free and so on. But by this point, it's like I have no like for this character whatsoever. I mean, she does a fantastic role as acting and all that stuff, and she's made to be a great horrible villain. But I had this fear that don't let Samuel Jackson die and have her get away instead. I didn't want to see that, but I was so glad to see that no. She ends up fucking dying. And Samuel L. Jackson and the sheriff, who are bleeding out and technically aren't going to make it, but they can enjoy this last, like, good laugh.
Well, maybe Walter Goggins can enjoy it more, because Samuel Jackson literally, it's just bleeding out his fucking shot off nuts. But still, it's one of those things, though. It is like one of those, it is a really satisfying ending. For an ending that implies everybody dies at the end.
Yeah, well, it's also nice, too, because, like they get her and they hang her, and it's like they're both, like, in so much pain, but they're, like, tying her up to the bed, pulling her and hanging her and laughing the whole time.
And just because they're all, like, they shot other people and they've been from their own wounds, they themselves, their clothes, their hands, everybody by the end of this movie is literally covered in blood, whether it be their own or someone else's. They're just covered in blood by the end of the movie. And just them pulling on this, like, he says, like, sure, it's just like, so they just basically, they shoot, like, Tim Roth, and they're down just to Daisy Domergue. He's like, you know what?
We forgot even to talk about what happens to Michael Madsen.
He got shot. Did he just get shot, like, basically in the...
Yeah, he goes to pull for one of those secret guns and then gets shot. I actually kind of... he got the only, like, kind of death that's kind of, like, just like, yep, now he's just out of the picture. Like, everybody else has had, like, a pretty significant death. His was, I think, the only one that was kind of like, yep, that's the end of that one. Just kind of like, we just need to get rid of that guy. We didn't really know how exactly, but...
They're already in the middle of this shit, and like he was just one of the bands.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really complaining, but like, because everybody else,
it wasn't super violent. It wasn't like super violent.
Well, not just like that, really. But also like every other death was like very significant. Like when like Senior Bob gets killed, it's like it's right after they discover that the chair has blood on it, and then he just turns and blows him away. Channing Tatum, it's when he pops up and it's too slow, blows his head off. Kurt Russell, he throws up blood everywhere like that, and then Daisy finally shoots him in the heart. You know, everybody had these kind of like big death moments, and then Michael Madsen is just kind of the one where. Just like, fuck, let's get rid of him. He goes for that gun.
It even gets to this point where, like, Samuel Jackson just says, I'm going to shoot this bitch. He, like, pulls the trigger, but he's out of bullets by this point. And he can't move nowhere because he's on that bed. And, like, Daisy, she, like, she's still handcuffed to Kurt Russell's dead body. So she goes and she grabs an axe and starts, like, chopping away at his arm. So she has this arm just dangling to her arm for the rest of the fucking movie. So it's like he's trying to really make a very bloody, crazy, over-the-top picture, but I fucking love it for that. And so then basically it's down to that, and I kind of like how Samuel Jackson's like, so we kill this bitch? Like, no, killing's too good for her. Well, a good man, like John, like what was Kurt Russell? John, I think John Ruth was Kurt Russell's name. He's just like, John the Hangman Ruth wanted to sing her hang. This bitch is gonna hang. And then it's like
they're still carrying it out.
And then they have the noose around her neck, and they're kind of playing this triumphant kind of like almost kind of like the song at the end of Inglourious Basterds. Something kind of like
victorious march.
Yeah, this very march song. They're pulling, and you just see her this look on her face, like she's scared, but she's not fighting it. She just goes up, and they're just like both laying on the bed. The whole bedpost is twisting. They're tying it around, like yeah. Like they see her feet kicking. They're just like, hang that bitch. And they're just like got her. And then she just like stops kicking, like that's a nice sight. They just kind of lay back, and then like that's where. He says, can I read that? Can I get a look at that letter? He says, yeah, sure. He hands him the letter, opens it. Walter Goggins reads the whole thing aloud. They're playing some kind of like nice like horn, kind of almost like a salute, like a funeral military salute. He says like he said something about like Mary Ann's calling at the end, like, oh yeah, that's a nice touch. Yeah, it is. He crumples it, throws it, credits.
Yeah, and it's like a perfect place for that. Well, right there, let's take a quick little break.
Hey, I'm Rob.
And I'm Slim.
And we do things like eat hot dog smoothies and have our interns shit in adult diapers.
Yakov Spiridov loves us. He raves about us on Twitter.
We do a lot of great interviews with musicians, actors, and comedians.
We've also gotten a bunch of death threats and lawsuit threats.
If any of these things intrigue you, then check us out. Find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube.
Rob and Slim, internet radio at its finest. Pew, 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 pew.
And we're back.
And we are. I'll be honest, I don't know what's talked about after all that movie, because not a whole lot's happened since then. I didn't do nothing for New Year's.
Did you miss out on getting Dark Knight Volume 3 or 2, I mean?
Oh, I just bought that the other day, but I have not read it yet. I just got
Okay, well, that's something to talk about on another podcast then.
Why don't you go ahead and tell me? I'd like to read it, but why don't you go ahead and talk about it? Because it'd be awkward just saying, "We'll be right back. We're back." Well, later, folks.
Well, we could talk about something else. I mean, really, when this one kind of simply happens is you got Carrie Kelly. She's in jail. She's kind of talking it out. You're wondering if Batman's alive, Batman's dead. The little mini comic in the center is Wonder Woman, so you get kind of her little story with her daughter on what's going on. And then Carrie Kelly gets busted out by the giant Batmobile tank. But, and then I don't want to really spoil the ending part because it's kind of interesting there. It's one of those ones, I'll wait for you to kind of read it to talk about it a little bit more.
Gotcha.
But that's like the gist of it. It's cool so far. I'm still really proud. This story's been really sweet. Sometimes the downfall when you get like a one every month, you almost kind of forget like what the fuck happened that last issue.
Well, it's also kind of hard to really judge. You could talk about it, you could like it, but it's really hard. Single issues, that's the thing. Like, well, what happened to this issue? Well, this happened, that happened. Well, if you have like a trade paperback, I feel like you have a lot more to talk about and a lot more of a build up. Like, well, it was really enjoyable. I guess I have to wait a month for the next one.
Yeah, it's always those kind of things like that. But
this is the first thing in a while I've been buying the monthly issues, but it's fucking, I'm not gonna lie, I probably would wait for the paperback, but I'm like, something to talk about on the podcast, even though I'm not prepared right now. It's just something I bought it and I haven't had a minute to read it yet.
Yeah, that's one of those ones, like, to me, it's like, buying those single issues is like, it's almost like buying them. It's kind of like, that's like the biggest Batman thing you can kind of get in a long time. It's like Frank Miller's doing it. It's almost like you got to go out of your way to get that one.
No ads. That's my biggest thing for not buying trade paperback is no ads. And, it's just, it's still a little bit more expensive than not getting trade paperback, but it's still just a little, this one, the fact that it doesn't have any ads in it, it just makes me that much happier. It means it's a little bit more expensive because of that, but the ads just kill it for me. Even though they're not as bad as they used to be, they just can kill it for me sometimes. Yeah,
there's only a handful of books that I kind of get just in like single issues, just because it's kind of fun to get some stuff, but other things just like might as well just get it in fucking trade paperback. It's just the easier read. But the other thing, this is kind of I know this game's been out for a while, but it's sort of a game that kind of almost needs more talk because nobody fucking got it. But I got for Christmas, I got the Tomb Raider for in a sense, the second one of the new series on Xbox. And that game is like a pure perfect game.
I've heard nothing but good reviews on it. Just a lot of people haven't been talking about it, like the first one.
Well, it's one of those games where like, okay, yeah, that game, the reviews I saw, it got like Game of the Month and all kinds of stuff. It got higher ratings than Fallout and all kinds of other games. But this is the downfall, though, is they released it kind of dumb. They released it the same day as Fallout 4, and that's why I didn't get it that same day either, because I'm like, fuck, there's not enough time. When Fallout comes out, there's not enough time for any other video game.
I still got to finish Fallout 4.
So, video games are one of those ones, you can release big movies next to each other for the fact that it's easy to go see another movie. But when you release big video games next to each other, it's kind of that thing where there's only so much time in the day for most people. And I think that's what kind of happened to Tomb Raider. It got kind of pushed on the wayside. Like, I think it didn't make a whole lot of money. That's the point where that exclusive deal they have with Microsoft, I think is going away a lot quicker. I think it's going to come out on PS4 and PC and all that stuff in half the time than it was originally planned.
Yeah,
because
well...
It's just that weird. They just released it at such a weird time.
Mm-hmm. No, I get you. Well, I mean, hopefully it does better, because I've heard nothing but good things about both those games.
Oh, so and this one here, because like that other one that came out, like that one is a standalone game. It was like a perfect game. As a Tomb Raider game, it was still missing some Tomb Raider elements. That was kind of the only downfall to it. It was close, but there were still some things they needed to work out. Where in this one, they ironed out all those problems.
Does she have two guns from the get-go? Because I know that was
she doesn't have that, though. That's my only thing. I hope that's like the last set of pistols you get is the two guns, or two of something, And even like it would just be kind of cool because they got different costumes and stuff in this one. Like you should be able one of the final costumes you unlock should be like the standard Tomb Raider costume.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but other than that though, they finally added in there's like bears and you got like wolves, and then you also got tigers and all kinds of different things to fight. So that was kind of the thing that's missing in the other one. They only had like a couple wolves, and then that was it. But I'm like, dude, main thing about Tomb Raider is you're fighting animals. You know, that's like half your enemies. I mean, you fight a fucking T-Rex in the first one.
I'm surprised that the original Tomb Raider games were only rated T. I mean, just given the subject matter and some of the stuff that happens. I mean, not subject matter, but I mean, I guess how like just seeing this, because like a lot of times when she died, it wasn't like, oh, just fall over dead. It was just like you'd see this lady get impaled by a bunch of spikes, or a monster come up, just like this corpse dangling, just being dragged back, you know. So I'm surprised.
For that time period, for the fact that they gave mature ratings to things like Lethal Enforcers, I'm surprised that Tomb Raider didn't have a mature rating.
Until now, yeah. Now it makes sense, though. I don't know how you could work away. I've seen some of the screenshots and stuff that happens in the game, so I'll have to try those out at some point. I ended up getting. I didn't really. It was a Christmas gift, and I didn't plan on getting it, but since I think I'll keep it though. I'm keeping it now definitely because I've opened it, but people are gonna say I'm a hypocrite because I was talking shit on it, but now I'm keeping the game. Star Wars Battlefront. I ended up getting that for Christmas, and it was one of those things where I'm like, I might take it back because I mean, it's not one of those things like I thought the game would be bad. I just really don't like EA, and I don't like their business practices, and they're a bunch of greedy fucking assholes. But then I went to GameStop and I looked around. I'm like, you know what? There's not really that many games jumping out at me that I can get for an equal price right now. And I'm like, oh, fuck it. You know, this thing was a gift, so all I got to pay for really is DLC. But the thing about the game is, though, I finally went out and got PlayStation Plus. Well, it's a couple-day trial thing, but I'll eventually pay for it. But I got PlayStation Plus, and the thing is about the game is you can really only play the game in PlayStation Plus. The thing is, I think
that's kind of how just like pretty much any of those online ones are, though.
That's what pisses me off, though. I don't like having to rely on like another server. I kind of like the idea of being able to play it, put in the game, and just play it. Now, here's the thing: there is like you could do like this you versus the computer kind of match type deal, where you just kind of like, okay, here's one of 4 locations. Just 4 locations. You in the small little location on Tatooine. You in the small little location on Hoth. You in the small little location on this planet called Salt. I don't know. It's never been in any of the movies. And then you on this little location on Endor. And it doesn't vary it up. It doesn't mix it up. It's just these same couple of spots. And they're not even that big of stages. They're really small stages. And then you have like Hero Battle or whatever. And it's just like, it's like for like $60 and just to play that, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? It's one of those things like, it's not that the gameplay plays bad. It's just like for charging $60 right out of the gate, not even having to go online, just $60 out of the gate, you couldn't add just a standard story mode, or it wouldn't be that much more, I would imagine. You know what I mean?
Well, everybody that I've talked to that got that game, they either sold it.
Jizz in their fucking pants, right?
No, they either sold the game or they just stopped playing it after a couple of days. Because they're like, that's about all the game is. It sounded like a lot of people were pretty disappointed. They're like, it's definitely the best looking PS4 game out there, but it's just, a standard. And I think the thing is I think what was kind of dumb is to put the Battlefront name on there, but then in a sense it's not really a Battlefront game. Yeah, I think that's kind of what they were doing is they were doing like a horrible evil ploy, which is a Disney trait to do sometimes. Where
it's more of an EA trait.
Well, it's also a Disney one too, though. Like Disney's done it before, where like they'll try to get you.
Don't bring up Wreck-It Ralph. Let's
yeah, we're not going to bring it up. I'm saying that they do it. We all know they do it, where they lead you in with something you know and love. Like Star Wars and Battlefront. Battlefront being probably one of the top 5 most like acclaimed Star Wars games out there, and then to kind of give a game that's more should have just been called Call of Star Wars. Yeah. It's Battlefield game. It should have been called Star Wars Battlefield, not Battlefront.
Because the thing about Battlefront is you had a lot of... Here's the thing about Battlefront. You can say what you will about the way it looked, but it was primarily... You can go first person, but it was primarily a third-person shooter. Mm-hmm. And it was... The first one didn't have a story mode, but it did have this... it did have, like, every planet that's been up to the movies in that point. The second one did have a story mode.
Yeah, the second one was cool because you could play it co-op, and you had story mode, and there was objectives, and all kinds of stuff going on.
And the way that worked, it was very simple. It was kind of like, I mean, they had different modes, but the main mode was there's a number of certain bases. You just got to stand in that base long enough, turn it into yours, kill off other people from this little like vicinity, and then it was your base, and you could spawn from that spot. So, and that was pretty cool. That was pretty awesome. Now I'm gonna say this game itself, it plays fun. It is a fun game, but I'm irritated the fact that I get the game and I just get four bare bones levels that are very basic, nothing really special about them. Like, what's this weird new made up level that's in the game, like this lava world? What's the bare bone basic for that? We're in a fucking hangar, and it just happens to be a view of this lava world, not actually out there. As if you played it online, you would get that shit. You know, and the thing is, I mean, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm just not one of these newer gamers, but my problem is, it seems so fucking dumb to me that the age we live in, we can do all this shit, we have all this variety. The game, it's totally randomized. It's like you don't pick onto where you're going to. It's random matches. It drops you in the middle of any location, whatever team. Not really, you know what I mean? I guess that just
it's not like the old fashioned like 1990s like online fucking 56K modem games. Like, I think of stuff like Command and Conquer, where you'd make your own room, and you go, okay, I want to play this map with, this many players, and this and that and that. You set all the parameters, everything you want, and then people join your match, and then once you got, 6 players or 8 players, whoever, you hit start, and you're good to go. Like, I miss that. Like, nowadays, like, it almost feels like there's a lot of games. Does that, I'm assuming, because I only played that little demo of Battlefront. Does that game feel like you should put it like 50 cents in and play it? Like it's in a fucking arcade game or something like that?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. It's like one of those things, like, it is a fun game and it's enjoyable, but it doesn't really stand out. What really stands out about it is it's a good-looking game, and it's Star Wars. I'm not going to lie, it feels pretty good when you... Like, there's another thing. There's aerial assault, where you're strictly just flying spaceships.
Well, that probably sounds like the coolest part of the game, if I had to guess.
And you're just... But the thing is, I feel like such a whiny bitch right now. But here's the thing. I remember back when playing Battlefront 1 and 2, I mean, the ships didn't fly that well, but there's a pretty wide variety of ships. You had the X-Wing, you had the A-Wing, you had the Y-Wing. I think the Millennium Falcon was a possibility. You had, like nearly every like, you had a lot of different ships from what I remember. And this one, it's like, okay, Rebels, you guys get the A-Wing and the X-Wing. Imperials, you guys get the TIE Fighter and TIE Interceptor. Well, I'm sure later they're going to come out with a pack where you can pay for the fucking, like TIE Bomber or the Y-Wing or something. But it's like, I mean, right? Maybe that's just in the aerial thing. But like even the aerial command thing. That's fun, but it's very much the same thing. You're just over one of several spots. You got to take out each other, and it doesn't have a lot of diversity, or you know what I'm saying? Well, it's like the fact the Star Wars wrapping kind of overtakes the game itself.
That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, all I can say is hopefully they actually, because the upside nowadays is they can actually fix a game in the long run, but if they add stuff to it. But the only thing, it is Disney, and they always are trying to it feels like that game almost should have been a free game, and then you paid for all the extra stuff.
That's how I feel. I mean, I can't really bitch about it because it was a gift to me, and that's the way I'm viewing it now. Like, I'm a little mad the fact for people that didn't have to buy a game. Not like fucking Mickey Mouse put a gun to their head like, buy this fucking game!
You fucking idiot! You're a GameStop right now! You're gonna put your money down for something? You put it down for a goddamn Star Wars thing!
Like Mickey Mouse broke into their house in the middle of the night at gunpoint, went to Amazon on their phone, like, buy it! Click buy now! Buy now! But, it's one of those things where I feel like if I actually did buy this day one, like I was considering for a minute, then stopped when I heard more reviews. When I probably would have been very mad. I would have been very mad if I bought this thing for like $60 day one, just to get 4 maps, maybe this little hero character side game, and then do everything else online. Because to me, I mean, I could play. Maybe I can't do maybe there's certain things I can't do on the PlayStation Plus network. But if I go on like Destiny, there's somebody on there that's just kind of like, okay, I'm online. I'm playing the game online. Maybe I'm not in this party or something, but I'm playing the game online. There's somebody walking by that's like not a CPU. That's another person right there. So the fact, you get what I'm saying? It just seems so dumb to me. I mean, there are certain factors I get. Other factors like, really? You can't just let me play these standard modes without the special bells and whistles, you know?
What are you talking about, like the PlayStation Plus or the...
Yeah, well, I think it seems dumb to me that I need PlayStation Plus to really play the game. I think that PlayStation Plus, I thought that was more of like you need like perks and whistles to be part of a party or something, but you can still play the game, you know. But
what
really,
PlayStation Plus is really doing
game.
is you're paying for people that run those servers.
Okay.
That's technically, because like to me, like I understand why that like you pay for Xbox Live or PlayStation Plus. It's because somebody's working, you know, maintaining those servers and all those games and so on. So I get that. And the nice thing about PlayStation Plus though is you always get like a free game. Especially if you have a PS3, you get like even more games. So you get these little free games every month. Half the time they kind of suck, but the other times then they're pretty sweet games. And then you get discounts on like other stuff.
Now, I get that. No, that I understand. I just think it's really shitty to make a game for as much as they charged and really only give you not even half a game. I'm going to say a quarter of a game. And the rest of it, you have to go for PlayStation Plus to play. Like, I guess maybe it's just me.
Well, I don't think there is anymore. There's only 4 maps in the entire game.
Well, that's the thing. Here's the thing that works. 4 maps in the game, but it's randomized. So one spot of Hoth in like the one player mode, it's just this one particular thing. It's always that spot. If you play it online, I want to say it's a different spot. It's a wider map. There's more stuff to check out and more stuff to see. Now, and that kind of goes for every single map. My thing is, why should I have to play online to get that if I have the game? I mean, I think that it's one of those things, like, I understand if you pay for PlayStation Plus, there's some bells and whistles you should get for it, and I get that. But I think the game should stand on its own. It shouldn't have to be...
Well, this has nothing to do with PlayStation Plus. This actually just has to do with...
No, I'm talking about EA. Yeah. I'm not talking about PlayStation Plus individually. I'm talking about EA making a game that relies on the fact you have to have a PlayStation Plus account to really enjoy the game. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, but that's any game you have to play online.
Well, no, I don't know. I'm able to go on Destiny and play Destiny all right. I mean, I don't really play it that much because it just doesn't really do it for me. But I mean, maybe I'm just not used to this. Maybe I'm just used to playing a single player game that's solid enough to stand on its own and doesn't have to rely on a bunch of other fucking people who are going to drop this thing and forget about it like in 6 months.
Yeah, well, see, that's where a lot of games like don't sell for me because like I have a PlayStation Plus, but the funny thing, I never play anything online because the only games I buy on PlayStation are single player games. But the funny thing is like all those games, like whenever I hear a game is like, that's why I didn't get Battlefront because when I heard it's like, oh, it's an online only game pretty much, I'm like, I'm not there. And then like they have the Rainbow Six one. It came out, it's online only. It's just multiplayer. It's just like here's the thing. Sometimes the multiplayer thing, it's fun for like a couple days. I always feel it's that Sims thing. I remember when the Sims came out in like 99. That was that kind of game. Like the first day you get it, you kind of play. You're like, well, this is fucking different. Like I could put these people in this house. I mean, what if I light fireworks off inside of a house? What fucking? Oh my god, it catches on fire. And you start going through all these little scenarios. And then after about 2 days of playing that game for like a copious amount, you go, what the fuck am I doing? You fucking uninstall that game. You're like, fuck that. What the fuck am I gotta do something real. My God, that's like living in my own house. What the fuck is going on? And you just stop playing it, and that urge just goes away so quickly. And that's how I always felt about like all those other games. Kind of like, every single time I play like a Call of Duty, like you play it online for about 3 days, and it's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's really fun for like those first couple days. And then after by about day 4, 5 maybe, that urge just goes away. And I have no reason to go back on. Like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, that was it. And that's why I'm kind of iffy about online-only games.
And that's the thing. Like, Call of Duty was another one. Well, so I'll say this. Like, Call of Duty, Halo, I know those are two different games, but they do have a big online basis. But, I mean, I'm going to say Call of Duty's single-player campaign is at least big enough and interesting enough to go back and warrant another play,
Yeah.
Same thing with Halo.
At least has something in it.
Same thing with Halo. Now, I guess I thought majority of people were just playing this thing online. They're like, oh, this is all entirely online shit. And like, well, maybe I don't know. I thought it was, well, maybe I didn't understand the way PlayStation Plus worked, but the way I thought it was like, okay, I can still go online and play the game in like group matches and all that, but I just can't be as interactive, or I can't have all the bells and whistles that would come with that. And it just seems so fucking dumb to me to entirely write a game on like multiplayer shit. When I know it, I don't know. I just think a game should be able to stand on its own.
Pretty much, that's just.
I want to be the lonely old man in a fucking cabin.
You're literally the old man gamer. You're like myself, because that's how I feel. Like, I'm just not into like online game playing and things like that. It was
fun for 2 days. I played for 2 days, and I was like, this is getting kind of boring.
You know, it's kind of like the only game that I really bought like in the last while that I think was like online only was Splatoon. But Splatoon was kind of one of those games where I was just like, it just seemed so interesting anyways to get it, but Nintendo did it totally right, because this is how like they've done Splatoon. When Splatoon came out, I think it only had 4 maps. It was just like Battlefront. Every map, every gun, every bonus thing they've given on there is all free. It just comes in the updates. They update the game, you just get a bunch of new maps, a bunch of new guns, a bunch of new stuff. Like, Nintendo did it so right. Now, I will say, on Smash Brothers, they found a way to like nickel and dime that game to death, in a sense.
I still think there's some characters like I'm probably not going to pay for, but there are other things like, I get, someone had to make, someone had a lot of, I don't know, there's some, I guess it's weird, maybe I'm being a little biased here, but Smash Brothers, I kind of get that a little bit more. I think some of those characters may have already been there, but other characters, I feel like it's been long enough, it probably took a minute for that to to come out.
In Smash Brothers, I don't believe that they didn't hide anything in that game or anything like that, and it's just like, but for the fact that like, okay, they can make a character in Smash Brothers and charge you $6, but they could make like 4 more levels in Splatoon and you get it for free.
Well, I think they know, like, well, look, it's Smash Brothers. People,
you're fuck. That $6 character is what paid for your free Splatoon levels.
Like, here's the thing. I'm not gonna say I like that. But that seems a little less shitty than other things.
No. And that's like the least amount of shitty compared to like other games out there.
EA's just horrible, because they're the ones doing Project $10, where if you bought a used game, if you bought a used game, in order to get all the content, you would have to pay another $10. Like that kind of shit. They're the ones like heading a lot of those ideas. And a lot of people just said, fuck you. And a lot of like people just were like, boycotting them. And I think they dropped out of that, but they were really trying to push a lot of that kind of stuff. And, in order to play the game online, you have to have an EA account. Like,
I was just about to say, on Battlefront, don't you have to have that EA account to play it too?
That doesn't cost any money, does it? I hope it doesn't.
It doesn't cost any money, but it's just a hassle thing that like...
Yeah, exactly. You have to have a fucking EA account. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I made sure the thing doesn't send me emails or anything about that. Like, would you know about EA products? No, fuck no.
Well, I remember when I downloaded the beta Star Wars, like, because I played it at Cameron's, and then I went home and downloaded it, and it was just like, well, I'll just download it. And then I was like, oh, I have to have an EA account? Fuck this. I literally just deleted it afterwards. I'm like...
If like Cameron and RJ don't really give a fuck about this game, that says something.
Yeah, well, because it's like, those guys like those type of games a lot, so... For them to like not be into it too much, it's like, okay.
Since I'm going to tough it out. I'm just kind of waiting. Like,
hopefully it'll just get better. That's just the only thing. Is hopefully they will fix it.
It's one of those things because it's like they made such a big deal about this game, and if this game does bad, maybe that means there won't be another like big Star Wars game for a while. And I'm gonna say, I mean, Disney sold it to EA, but I think EA is like kind of a little bit of like maybe evil Disney plotting, but then really shitty evil EA tactics.
Well, you could say it's too general. It's like one of the most evil movie companies with one of the most evil like video game companies.
For being an evil movie company, they've been doing some good shit though. I'm not gonna lie.
I've never said that Disney makes bad movies, but we all know that they're a horrible evil company.
Oh, yeah, Well, it's kind of like those things. I'm at that point. There's this point where it's like, fuck Disney, fuck them up their ass, man. That's anti-establishment, fuck Disney, anti-establishment. They reach this point where you just get kind of like, you know what, I view Disney as Lex Luthor. Kind of like evil as fuck, but I can't really stay mad at him.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
It's like, and I'm going to say this right now. I mean, this is a little off a different topic. Donald Trump seems like the incompetent Lex Luthor. I can honestly say, right now, if the last 2 candidates were Donald Trump, Lex Luthor, in a heartbeat, Lex Luthor. Well, you do know he wants to destroy the world. Yeah, I know he wants to destroy the world. You do know he wants to like rule it and take. Yeah, I know that. You like Superman. I do like Superman, but the thing is, before the world fucking ended, it would be really nice. He would make things nice for about a good 2-3 year period before his term was up and before he like brought apocalypse. And then Superman's gonna come in and save the day anyway, so it doesn't matter. You know,
I got nothing to fear.
Yeah. So it would honestly, if it was Donald Trump or Lex Luthor. Fuck yeah, Donald Trump, Superman. Either way, it could be like it could literally be like Gilbert Godfrey, someone who is like, I have no idea how the fuck I got here. It'd be like, that guy, I want him over Donald Trump. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, that guy. I don't care. I'll take that hobo off the street who's got heroin needles sticking out of him. Fine with that.
Yeah, Lex Luthor in a heartbeat over Donald Trump because he doesn't have to hide behind a bad wig.
Well, when Tomb Raider comes out on PS4, you should get that because it is fucking amazing.
Hopefully, Star Wars. Hopefully they just don't bitch out and say, "Yeah, we had all this DLC plan, but now that since people don't really like it, it's been like whatever. We're just gonna stop it." I could see that possibly happening. I mean, IGN was sucking its dick, of course, giving it like it's a 9.5. But
you can never trust IGN.
You can't trust IGN. I still check out the reviews, but I never really take it too seriously.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's just, because it just bothers me. Yeah, because there's no way that any normal like Joe would be like, hey, this seems right. 4 maps and just limited multiplayer, sure. No story mode, yeah, why not? I mean, I don't have a problem with a game that sells itself as like, hey, we're online only, and that's just what we are. But really make sure you advertise yourself as that. Like, I think that's the key thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. I remember there was like the game. I think it was like Turok Rage Wars or something for like N64. That was almost like the first runner of those kind of games because all that was a 64 Turok game, but it was only multiplayer. There was no single player or anything on. It was just like, hey, people seem to like the multiplayer in Turok 2 and 3, or I don't even know if 3 was out by that point. But like, why don't we just make a full-on, just pure multiplayer version of our Turok game?
It's kind of like some of the VR stuff in Metal Gear Solid games.
Yeah, well, that's always that kind of thing where it's like, yeah, man, I really like the VR missions in Metal Gear, and then you play the Metal Gear Solid VR disc, and you're kind of like, well, this feels almost like too much.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of VR'd out now. But when it was only like 13 missions or 19 missions or whatever it was like, that was real fun. But then you kind of realize when you have too much of it, you're like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
But, that's probably a good place to wrap it all up at. Make sure to check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, and more. Buy something from one of our Amazon links to help support the podcast. Doesn't cost you anything, but it'll send us a little something our way. We either got links under the show title, or you can find them on oldmanorange.com. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we will see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange Podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located. If you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. It won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks again.